Yo guys, Haku here with my review of The Walking Dead Season 6, Episode 9, No Way Out. And honestly, before I even get into it, I've got to say this is probably my new favorite episode. No Way Out is my favorite comic storyline, for sure. I absolutely love No Way Out. And I was just really hoping that it made a very good part of the show, and oh, it did it. It did everything I thought it was going to do and more, especially considering that the stuff that happened just in episode 9, these were things that I thought were going to take episode 9 and 10 both, and everything just paid off so very well. So before I just keep praising this some more, I want to break it down part by part and give my thoughts on the things that happened in the order that they happened and whatnot. So first thing I wanted to bring up is before the credit sequence, the scene we already knew was kind of happening. I like the conversation with Negan's men. I thought that the actor that was like the main guy with the Negan's men there was I thought he did a really good job. And the ending, there are only two things that kind of bother me. The first being that when he said normally we pop a cap in one of you to start this off, or something along those lines, that kind of bothered me, because that unless they're doing it quite a bit differently, that doesn't really seem like what Negan's group does. And like even what this group was talking about with like wanting to know them and use them for the benefit of their version of the greater good, it just seemed like killing one of them just doesn't fit in with their philosophy that they were just talking about. But I mean, they didn't really delve deeply into it. But just basically, I thought that was kind of an odd line. And people that read the comics would know that's kind of an odd line. And the other thing that I was kind of like, I didn't dislike, but I was a little on the fence about, was the use of the RPG already. It wasn't bad. I'm definitely not saying it was bad. I really liked that it happened. But it was a little bit much. I think it may have been a little bit much just for that early on. So I'm still on the fence with how I feel about it, but it did look pretty nice and it fit in. It wasn't like just completely random. So I think it was okay, especially it built from episode 6 into episode 9, so I guess they gave it enough time before they used it. So I'm going to say that part was okay. I didn't mind it. Next is a part that this part did kind of bother me a little, is what we've seen like at the end of episode 8 and stuff, where they're walking out holding hands and Sam is just like, Mom, Mom. And then we never got any of that in this episode. So it really confused me and my whole family that was watching. We're like, so did that just not happen? Was it in their heads? Was it symbolism? Like, why did it just not actually really happen there? So that was a little bit, it was a little bit distracting, but I don't think it was a big deal. I mean, who cares that much? We can assume it happened and the walkers just didn't give a shit for whatever reason, or it didn't happen and it was just symbolism or something. But, yeah. So that was a little odd that didn't actually really happen there at the beginning of this episode, or close to the beginning. But then we got Gabriel taking baby Judith, and I really like that, because I was like, I got faith in Gabriel this storyline. I'm hoping Gabriel redeems himself in a big way, and I think he did by saving Judith. But the entire like first half of this episode, where we saw Glenn and Enid go into that one church and they made sure that they locked the door behind them in the scene, I was just, the whole time I was like, holy crap, what if Gabriel and Judith are trying to get in but they can't like get into the church? But then again, I think that was just some random church outside the wall, because Gabriel's church is different and he didn't have like a real church. His church was just like sort of a makeshift building that they had. So for the parts with the wolf and Denise, they were really good. And I think they were really good because I didn't expect them. I didn't expect Denise and the wolf to get so much character development and so much screen time here. And it wasn't just this is happening, and it wasn't disappointing. It was a good surprise. It was surprising that it happened, but they did it really well, and I really applaud them for being able to put all the things they did into this one episode and still having that sort of character development for newer or minor characters like Denise and the Wolf. I gotta say I was pretty disappointed with Rosita and stuff though, because like it seemed like Carol and Morgan, they were doing good things their characters would do. We had Tara like wanting to go out there. Eugene wanted to go out there. He's like, we're gonna have to fight him off eventually. Being a voice, what I think is actually a voice of reason in this situation, because they couldn't stay in that basement forever. They couldn't even stay in that basement for a week probably. They didn't have supplies there. So they were gonna have to fight their way out eventually. And then Rosita just wanted to kind of like whine about it and naysay everyone. And it was pretty annoying, I think. I didn't like it. But then we get into the scene that I was really waiting to happen, that I was calling and hoping it happened similar to the way it did in the comics. And it was done very well, which is where Sam freaks out, gets grabbed, then Jessie gets grabbed. She won't let go of Carl, so gets her arm chopped off. Then Ron shoots Carl in the eye, knocks his eye out, and Michonne stabs Ron in the back. Now, sorry, scratched my face, but I didn't see that coming in the way that it did. I did not see Michonne stabbing Ron and Ron just popping Carl in the face like that. That was pretty unexpected. I mean, I thought something might happen like that, but the way it happened was unexpected, and it was very good. The only thing I disliked about that scene is the weird sort of still frame flashbacks of Jessie thrown in there with Rick chopping the arm, and a couple of them were just still the same except they had like a red filter over them, and I thought they were like really out of place. They didn't look like they fit, and if I could see that scene without those in it, like just cut those parts out, the scene would have been a million times better. So I think they actually hurt the scene by throwing those in there. But again, in the end, even though I'm being critical, because I think that's what reviews are supposed to do, you're supposed to be a bit critical of things, I still absolutely loved it. Like I said, this is my new favorite episode, and that scene was probably the most or second most iconic part of this episode. So the Wolf turning good guy was great, and I absolutely loved it, because a lot of people are saying, oh, what if he was just saving her to save himself? He didn't really have a good guy turn. No, if he didn't really have a good guy turn, he got shot in the chest and still jumped into the walkers to save Denise. That is a good guy turn. Even though he was dying, he saved her. So I think that Carol snuffing that out really pissed me off, because I really like Carol, but I was like, why? Why, Carol? Why would you kill him? He had potential. He had potential to be a really good character. And it was one of those hard Walking Dead moments to just see the potential snuffed out like that. So it turns out that my most popular video, the one where I was predicting that Maggie was yelling Rick, turns out I was totally wrong on that. But I mean, it was still a very fun prediction to make. And it's fun to make predictions even if they're wrong. I mean, that's the fun of them. And I sort of like making the more out of the box crazier predictions, because I think it'll be more interesting if they're right, and I don't want to give predictions that are like obvious or that everybody else is going to have the same predictions. I want to have something unique. So turns out pretty much everybody was right, and she was yelling Glenn. And honestly, at that part, I thought Glenn was gonna die. I was about to be like very surprised by this episode, because I thought he was going to die, and I was just like, what? I didn't see this in the same episode as all that other stuff. But then he got saved by Sasha and Abraham, and that's another part I kind of feel a bit critical about, because I didn't like, he was completely surrounded, and they shot down from the wall and towards him, and they took out all the walkers, but managed to not hit him whatsoever. And that almost seemed a little bit cheesy to me. I mean, if the walkers weren't quite as close, or if they shot from a different angle, maybe, but I didn't really like the way they did that. So yeah, even though I loved the episode, and I loved that Glenn survived, that part seemed, again, a little bit much for me. So Alexandria's last stand. It was everything I was expecting from this episode and more. I loved the way all the characters just everybody had their moment, and especially Gabriel. Gabriel was redeemed and then some to me, where he had his awesome speech about, yeah, God's gonna save Alexandria because he's given us the strength to save it ourselves. And then he just goes out there and starts taking him out with his little machete. That was so good. I freaking loved Aaron being out there, and Heath, and just everybody. That was probably the most iconic moment, more than Carl losing the eye. It was just so good, and I was waiting and waiting for that moment. And the way they did it at night, with Daryl lighting the lake on fire, and the lake of fire with them killing all of the walkers, the visuals looked really great. Even though I can complain about some of the earlier visuals in the episode, the visuals in that part were beyond what I could ask for. That, and really, I gotta bring up the pacing. The pacing of this episode was great. It wasn't too slow. It wasn't rushed. They fit so much content into one episode without feeling rushed, and it does make me wonder, like, how they're going to do next episode because of that. And I'll probably get way more into that in my predictions, so that's for another video. I also thought it was very interesting how the conversation Daryl had with Dwight, where Dwight was like, yeah, we lit the forest on fire, and they all came, and when they heard it and saw the flames, more and more of them just walked into it, and that's how we just burnt out this forest to take out a ton of walkers. So I love how Daryl was like, that idea is practical in this situation as well, and he replicated it in his own way. I thought that was really cool how it was a throwback to that episode, and it was done very well. It looked great, and it fit well. So honestly, while this is my new favorite episode after the premiere of Season 5, I would say that I feel bad giving it a 10 out of 10 because there were some parts here and there, like when Glenn was saved, or the random, just kind of cheap-looking cuts to the just plain flashback with a red filter over it that I didn't like. So I find it hard to give it a 10 out of 10, even though it's my favorite in a series that I absolutely love. I adore the series. So, in the end, I think I might give it a 9.5 lakes of 9.5 lakes of fire, 9.5 missing eyes, 9.5 dead Jesse Anderson's children out of 10. So yeah, 9.5 out of 10. I really loved it. My new favorite episode. Absolutely loved No Way Out in the comics and now in the show as well. My favorite in both. So thank you guys so very much for watching. I will have a discussion on Wednesday, and I think this week's discussion, given the events of the episode, it might be appropriate to do a discussion on Carl's eye, the effect it's going to have on him. Not just physically, as in losing an eye, but the effects psychologically that I think losing the eye might have on the TV show's Carl. So I'm going to do a discussion Wednesday on Carl losing his eye and what it may mean for the future of the character. And then, of course, Saturday is when I'm going to be making my episode 10 predictions. I already have a ton of ideas flying around in my head, but I'm going to need to do some serious work to put those ideas into, like, a concrete form where I'm not just rambling on about whatever. So, I thank you guys so much for watching. Like if you guys liked the video or anything that I thought. Yeah. So, comment down there if what you thought about the episode, what you thought of my thoughts on the episode. Subscribe for at least three The Walking Dead videos a week, at least 3 Tower of God, One Piece. I do anime reviews as well if you guys care. So, thank you guys so very much for watching. Follow on Twitter for updates of what we're doing here, and I will see you all next time.